Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Osman Bakar is a scholar, teacher, and author whose writings are known throughout many Islamic countries and by Western scholars of Islam. Currently, he is the second holder of Al-Ghazali Chair of Islamic Thought and Sheikh Al-Kulliyah of ISTAC IIUM. Having said that, I am pleased to invite Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Osman Bakar to deliver his lecture entitled Integration and Synthesis of Knowledge, the Role of Tawhidic Epistemology.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Professor Kamila, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic of University of Malaya, Brother Dr. Hisham Talib, President of IIIT, and his whole team of the top leaders of IIIT, Dr. Anas, where's Dr. Totonje? Oh, okay. Dr. Ahmad, yes, of course, son. I feel that I miss them too long already. For many, many years I've not met them, so I'm very, very happy that I'm meeting them today. And of course from other friends from India, Dr. Manzur from Indonesia, and I'm happy to be back at the University of Malaya, where I used to spend nearly 25 years in this university, and of course I'm very happy that this is done, the program today is done here at the Academy of Islamic Studies. Thank you to IIIT for inviting me, of course inviting ISTAC to be a partner in the organization of this half-day seminar, and to invite me to be a speaker here. Well, we heard this morning the presentation by Dr. Hisham talking about the history of IIIT. I just want to share. I think I have not told you, Dr. Hisham, or other friends from IIIT about this. It was about the paper, the proposal for the establishment of IIIT. I'm not sure whether it was at the end of 1981 or early 1982 when Almarhum Dr. Faruqi, I was his student at that time, so he called me to his office. Brother Osman, this is the draft of the proposal for the establishment of IIIT. Please have a look and give me your comments. I still remember that, but I can't remember what was the month. Yeah, was the month. Either end of 81 or early 1982. I just came from the University of Malaya to join Temple University as a PhD student. That was at that time. But anyway, I took it home to my hostel, because it's a long draft. I cannot just read in front of him there. So I read it that night, came back the next day, went to see him. I said, Professor Ismail Faruqi, MashaAllah. I said, Alhamdulillah, Mabruk. When are you going to set up this? That's a question to him. I haven't added anything. I haven't commented anything because I told him is already well done. So, alhamdulillah. So just to tell, just to tell you that. Okay, today I've been asked to present, and I chose this topic: integration and synthesis of knowledge, the role of Taoidic epistemology. Can go to the next also. I'm sorry. Yes. Beyond Islamization of knowledge. Please note that I'm using the word beyond and not post. I didn't say post-Islamization of knowledge, I say beyond. To say post is to say goodbye to Islamization of knowledge. I do not want to say goodbye yet, because I do feel that it still serves a certain purpose with certain kinds of audiences, especially when we deal with our own Muslim brothers and sisters, the students, because their mind is such that they are able to relate issues discussed to their own tradition, to their own religion, better than if you talk in using neutral terminology. So that, but we want to look beyond. And certainly from now on, we want to look beyond, and most of the time we want to look beyond this Islamization of knowledge. Well, I said that the uncompleted goals. The Islamization of knowledge agenda was one of the most important intellectual agendas since the 1970s. There's no doubt about that. So this intellectual agenda associated with Professor Ismail Faruqi, rahimahullah, and the Triple IT, which he founded as a co-founder, with Professor Said Akim Atas and his institute, ISTAC, Professor Said Ali Ashraf, his Islamic Academy in Cambridge, and all this. They have done so much in generating new academic environment in terms of publications and so on. There's no doubt that the Triple IT in particular has done a lot under the program Islamization of knowledge. We have seen just now. But does that mean that decades of Islamization of knowledge movement have done their job, in other words, have reached the goal, the ultimate goals, in other words, all the goals of Islamization of knowledge were that achieved? I would say that no. In other words, there is still unfinished business. There are still uncompleted goals, which now we would like to our new initiative, our new phase, if you can say that, the integration of knowledge will pursue the matter in the realization of the goals that were not done under Islamization of knowledge. There have been many books written, articles written on the position of many issues from Islamic perspectives. Alhamdulillah. But when I'm referring to this unfinished business, is precisely and I say more of this later, is about the reconstruction of the different sciences, of different academic disciplines in the light of the Islamic epistemology, in the light of the Islamic worldview, and so on. That we did a little bit, but not much. A little more needs to be done. I'll say more about that. Now, the second point here, actually, in those decades, in the past decades, we have been using the term Islamization of knowledge and integration of knowledge together. It's not new. The term integration of knowledge is not new. We have been using that. But in different countries, the relationship between Islamization of knowledge and integration of knowledge differs from country to country. In Malaysia, the term Islamization of knowledge is more popular, has been more popular than integration of knowledge. But in Indonesia, for its own reasons, the term integration of knowledge is more popular than Islamization. So we have to see the context, therefore, the national context determines. Yeah? But now, of course, I mean, we have a new environment, as pointed out by Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim, new conditions, new circumstances, new environment may force us to consider, yeah, and certainly I would say that the fact that IIIT has already ceased using the term Islamization for quite some time, for example, the emphasis on epistemology, which is only, I think, it is a logical thing to do. So, but what I wanted to point out is that there have been critiques of Islamization of knowledge. Critiques. Yeah. Certainly, the first kind of critique is precisely the kind of question that was asked one of our friends just now, our colleagues, regarding why do we need for Islamization of knowledge. Yeah? From day one, we in Malaysia, for example, certainly my experience, we heard a lot of arguments against Islamization of knowledge. So the critics have been there all along. But I just want to single out two particular critiques that are related to the issue that we are facing now. In other words, I'm not talking about the critics of some religious teachers, for example, saying, yes, this very simplistic, knowledge is already Islamic. Therefore, there's no need for Islamization. But I'm not referring to that kind of critique. Yeah? I'm referring to the kind of critique, for example, here, by one professor at the International Islamic University itself. Yeah. See? Then we have to pay attention to this critique, because International Islamic Civilization is supposed, International Islamic University is supposed to be the champion, yeah, to be the champion of Islamization of knowledge. But now, within the rank of its professors, you have a critique. So you have to listen to that. What's the critique? The critique is that, well, by using the term Islamization, we are excluding certain number of people from the discourse. Certainly, we said, if Islam stands for humanity, stands for the whole human civilization, then why not just use a neutral term, yeah, not an Islamic term, a term from one of the Muslim languages, in particular Arabic. All right. So that was one of the arguments there. Yeah, the arguments also that if we really want Islam to stand for universalism, to stand for universal perspectives, why then you use the word Islamic? Yeah, that was important. Then the other one, of course, the other critique that we had at that time is precisely the question of it's related to the question of actually of the universal perspectives of Islam. So I think these critiques compel us, or rather lead us to come up with a better term, particularly in Malaysia. Yes, I now remember what I want to say. There's one senior officer with the Department of Public Service, JPA. Yeah? This Malaysian Department of Public Service, and he is non-Muslim. The previous the professor that I mentioned just now from Islamic University, of course, is Muslim, but still he has that critique. But now a non-Muslim who was an officer, a senior officer in the Malaysia's Department of Public Service, who said this. I remember what he said, and that was, I think, reported in the Straits Times, New Straits Times. Right? It was addressed to Dr. Mahathir. It was addressed to Dr. Mahathir, Prime Minister Part 1. That was that time. He said, this person addressed question. Now, you, the Barisan National Government, the BN government at the time, is embarking on this, or rather is involved in this Islamization project, Islamization of this and that. I am a non-Muslim. Now, if you want the non-Muslim Malaysian citizens to participate in this important agenda, then what can we offer? Because you are using the term Islamization. I cannot offer anything about Islamization. I'm not Muslim. So I think that was another the observation that was made that we need to pay attention to. So, the integration of knowledge, okay, the integration of knowledge, sorry, I still want to go back to, integration of knowledge, basically, I would say now, a new, not really new, but I think this is new from certain perspectives, the new epistemological agenda. It is new in the sense that we are using a different terminology. So it is new from the viewpoint of terminological usage. But there's something else when we are now pursuing this integration of knowledge that we need to pay attention. That is that we should come up with the comparative approach. I believe that by doing a comparative approach would enable the Islamic perspective of things to be back at the center as the mainstream of the global thinking. In other words, we are comparing between Islamic, without mentioning the word Islamic, okay, and also the modern Western, the latest thing. So there are many things we can do by comparative approach. So I hope we'll be able to realize this. Now, the next point is, okay, whether if you are opting for integration of knowledge as our agenda, our intellectual agenda, are we clear about this concept of integration? This is what I would like to deal here. I said there are issues that are not clarified, the unclarified issues. Now, if you are discussing this project with people who are new both to Islamization and new to integration, then what are the issues that are really important for them to understand, to consider? So for me, first of all, we need to define the goals. What are the goals of integration? For me, the ultimate goals are the reconstruction of the sciences, all the different sciences, biology, physics, botany, in the natural sciences, then in the social sciences, sociology, anthropology, political science, and then in the humanities, the different branches of Islamic studies. Now we have, for example, at the University of Malaya. Now all these are sciences, we call them academic disciplines. Now, have we really carried out a reconstruction of these academic disciplines to conform to the Islamic perspective? That is the issue. I think things are not, we have not really tackled this. Now, according to the classical Islamic epistemology, every academic discipline, every ilm, jama' ulum, the sciences, each discipline is characterized by 4 different dimensions, which are, first of all, the subject matter, mawdu'. Is this subject matter of each discipline already well defined? For example, is the subject matter of psychology already well defined? Is the subject of artificial intelligence, is that already well defined? So the issue of whether the subject matter of that particular discipline is well defined or not. Now the second issue is a question of foundation. Every academic discipline, every science has its own assumptions about the objects it is studying. We have to examine the assumptions. Are they in conformity with Islamic view of things or not? Now, I just want to give you an example. I was privileged to be a part of 7, not the 7 founders of IIIT, but the other no less magnificent 7, the 7 scholars who invited to attend a 3-day brainstorming session in Hokkaido, Japan. The idea is, I was the only Muslim. I was invited to represent Islam. And then we have present Protestantism, Catholicism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and the indigenous religions from Latin America. Now, what was our project? Our project was to re-examine, to review the assumptions of modern science. So based on our study, we came to this conclusion. The foundations of modern science is basically based on Newtonian worldview, Newtonian scientific worldview. One part of the assumptions no longer valid in the light of the latest advancement in knowledge. So is it, we agree then this part of the assumptions needs to be taken out, need to be replaced by something new. Another one is okay. Another set of assumptions, fine. All right? Another set of assumptions needs to be revised, needs to be readjusted. Now, that's the kind of thing what I mean, but we want to make sure that the foundation of each discipline is in conformity with assumption. It's like you're talking about modern science, for example, built 300 years ago, or built since Newton. Suddenly came quantum physics. Quantum physics demolished the foundation of modern science, saying that, well, okay, the foundation is fine within a certain limits, all right? But if you want to look at the larger reality, then those assumptions are not sufficient. In other words, all these years, like living in a house, we have never really bothered whether the foundation of our house is okay or not, yeah? Until came a little earthquake, then we became worried whether the foundation of our house is still okay or not. So the same thing applies there. Now, this is what I mean that defining the goals, reconstructing the sciences, and for us, of course, it is very important that this reconstruction will help to harmonize between revelation and reason. Okay, now defining the process. We now want to be involved in integration of knowledge. Now, we need to define the process. Now, the process involves 3. First, it involves the mind of the integrator. We want to integrate. Now, do we have the kind of mind, do we have the necessary expertise, the knowledge that enables us to integrate the knowledge that wants to be integrated? That is the first thing, the person involved. Number 2, the elements of knowledge that are to be integrated. What are we integrating? Yeah? What are we integrating? This is very, very important. For academics, for example, whatever your discipline is, what are the elements of knowledge that you want to integrate? Yes, now you have person, you have the object, do you have the instrument to integrate? Now that's what I say. The third thing is the integrative principle, serving as the instrument of integration. What is the Arabic word for integration? Takamul. Right? Takamul. Being a mathematician, we use a lot of integration, Dr. Totonji. Yeah? We did a lot of integration. Takamul, integration. What do we integrate? Normally, algebraic functions of certain degree. Either we have a definite or indefinite integration. Yeah. Integration is always to bring the function to be integrated to a higher degree, not on the same plane of consciousness. That's the meaning of integration. Yeah? That's the meaning of holistic, to be holistic. That's the meaning to be the idea of takamul, integration. Integration is to make things more complete, more comprehensive. That is our purpose. And in conformity with Tawhid. Okay, that is defining the process. Now, I'm arguing for the principle of unity, Tawhid, as the needed shaper of the mind of the integrator and as the integrative principle. We need that. Without principle of Tawhid, we will not be able to go far in our works on integration. Now, synthesis as the supreme goal of integration of knowledge. What is the goal of integration itself? It is to lead to a synthesis of knowledge. I'm saying that synthesis is the raison d'être of Islam. Synthesis is the very mission of Islam. Our Muslims in the past, they had that mind, synthetical mind. I wrote a paper, very critical of the current university, Professor Camila, okay? Because we are only training our students to be analytical, but not synthetical, okay? We need also students, academics, who have the mind to be able to synthesize things. I think Dr. Anas was question of the synthesis, yeah? The question of the synthesis, to synthesize. So we do need certain number. It need not be as many as people with analytical mind. So it's very good and even necessary to have analytical minds, in certain branches especially. But the thing with analytical minds is that without the synthetical mind, yeah, we may able to analyze things into different components, but how to have the larger picture? We don't have the larger picture. Without synthetic mind, we cannot have a larger picture of things. So it has a role to play. So the synthesis as a supreme goal of integration of knowledge, this has to be in the program that we are now proposing. So what I mean by synthesis here, synthesis as realized in the new epistemological architecture of the sciences. I said just now, reconstruction of the sciences. So synthesis there means what? Yeah, it means just now, for example, in reviewing, coming up with a new foundation of the sciences, that itself requires synthesis. Synthesis here means ideas taken from the Islamic tradition, from Islam as a religion, from other civilizations, in particular, from modern West. The point Dr. Ahmad just emphasized on that. So I'm just going a little more further on that. The other one is synthesis as realized in the formation of new theories. All right. Myself, I tried in the last 10 years, which I have published, to come up with this synthesis at my own level. The latest is in my work together with Dr. Afifi of Oxford University, and also Dr. Padilla from Chicago University. They're working with Templeton Foundation precisely to come up with new perspective on biomedicine. So my paper is to propose a synthesis of modern biomedicine and the classical Islamic biomedicine as based, for example, on the works of Ibn Sina and so on. So that, in other words, that kind of synthesis more limited because it's limited to biomedicine. But there are, I believe that at another level, for example, it's cosmology. How can we come up with a synthesis of Islamic cosmology in the past and the cosmology of Stephen Hawking? So we take this as a challenge. The West, the modern West, came up with many, many theories, but we need to come up with a kind of synthesis of these theories. It's wonderful to see the minds of scholars working on how to produce this new synthesis. That's why I said integration of knowledge promises a lot of very, very interesting things for Muslims. The other one is synthesis as it lies in integration of facts and values. We continue to be burdened, to be, in a sense, challenged by this separation between facts and values. In fact, I would say whether a university is successful or not today is whether they can integrate facts and values. In science, they don't learn values. They learn facts. Now, the former Vice-Chancellor of this University of Malaya, Professor Unku Aziz, his solution to that, so he introduced at the Faculty of Science, University of Malaya, courses on history of science and philosophy of science. So that all students must have some knowledge about non-scientific dimension of that. So I think, but unfortunately, there's no continuity. This is our problem. There's no continuity. This is a challenge for us. How to maintain continuity and yet to come out with change. I think that is our philosophy. Continuity and change. Otherwise, what happens to the universities nowadays, I mean, we have that. Huh? Okay, now, synthesis as it lies in the unity of Naqli and Aqli sciences. Basically, the concern of the Islamic universities, the Academy of Islamic Studies here. Yeah? So this is examples of synthesis that I'm saying is the supreme goal of integration of knowledge. I'm coming to a close now. Well, if you want really our program on integration of knowledge to be very successful in the future, what sort of preparatory work we should have for this agenda? First of all, I think it is very important to introduce an enrichment of Tawhidic epistemology. We need to come up with modules on Tawhidic epistemology, or just simply epistemology. So which department in university is teaching epistemology or having a unit or department of epistemology? We don't have. We don't have really. Although elements of epistemology are taught in different subjects. The other one is, so I'm saying it's both theory and applied. The theory of Tawhidic epistemology and the applications of that. How to apply this epistemology to the various branches in the social sciences, in physics, in the sociology, anthropology, and so on, in the economic sciences, and so on. Now, the other one is we need to have programs to generate experts on integration of knowledge. That is the role of universities. Yeah. The role of universities now, if you go by this philosophy, is to generate experts. Do we have the experts? So I think we need the help of Triple IT. We need the Triple IT. University of Malaya, ISTAC, can work together with Triple IT, inshallah, in order to really come up with programs on how to produce experts on this integration. Conclusion, I think we should ask ourselves, what is so significant? What is so significant about this program, integration of knowledge for the 21st century, our current century? First of all, I think this program will restore Tawhidi epistemology to its rightful place in the mainstream global epistemological discourse. Islam deserves to be in the mainstream discourse, as we were once before. But nowadays, by limiting ourselves to Islamic, and that Islamic lacks the universality that Dr. Ahmad emphasized just now. So because of that, we become marginalized. Islam, a religion that deserves to be at the center of things, and yet we are marginalized. How? And I believe this program on integration of knowledge can help to bring us back to the mainstream discourse. And the other one, of course, the significance, particularly for Malaysia, where there are many non-Muslims, we will be ending intellectual segregation, not political segregation.